Da 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 da.
Oh, it's been a while since we last seen a video on this channel, and well, it's been a while. Let's just leave it at that. That's all we really have. Anyways, it's close to the end of the month, or it is the end of the month, which means it's time for another monthly pickups video sort of thing where I show off whatever I picked up over the past month or so. And let's start with the or so, because probably already seen this if you saw that. You were unfortunate enough to see that update video that I posted, but this is a Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Edition. One of those plug-and-play systems that are really hard to find, and you have to pay an exorbitant sum to get your hands on one of these if you really wanted to. I was lucky enough to find one at the flea market. Paid about 150, 200 bucks more or less, which is a bit up there, but nowhere near as exorbitant, and not only a little more than how much I would have paid if I were to buy this from a Walmart or a Toys R Us or whatever the case may be. Because up here it's about 100 bucks plus tax, and because our dollar is shit, might as well. But it's complete in box. That sort of bullshit was brand new, and I've been playing it quite a few times. It works beautifully. Nice to be able to have a version of Star Fox 2 that isn't a prototype fan finished version, as close to an official version. Well, actually it is an official version because it's Nintendo, not, but anyways. It has Star Fox 2, a proper Star Fox 2, and it's been a fun ride playing that, and really nice little machine. If you could get your hands on one, and you could find one for cheap enough, whatever that may entail, really definitely one worth checking out. Or at least wait until they have some of these games come out to the Switch, whatever that ends up being. But yeah, I'm happy with it. It's been seeing quite a bit of play. And when it hasn't been seeing quite a bit of play, I store it away in a nice safe place where it doesn't get stained and dirty, or coffee stains like on the desktop. Anyways, that was a Christmas gift that I got for myself, and that's pretty much my only real pickup for December. Now, for January, quite a couple interesting pickups here and there. First off, for Game Boy, we have Arcade Classic 1, which is a compilation of Asteroids and Missile Command. And these two games were Game Boy ports that were originally available on their own game packs, as it were. But this one has Super Game Boy compatibility, which means a fancy color scheme and nice little arcade cabinet border things. So that might be worth a look, and I know somebody that has the other. They made about 4 or 5 in the series. I know a buddy that has the other ones, so I don't know, we might make a little video on that somewhere down the line or something. Anyways, next up we have Aladdin, also for Game Boy, and also bearing Super Game Boy compatibility. According to this is from Virgin Interactive and Disney Interactive, which means it's based on the Genesis version of Aladdin rather than the Super Nintendo version, which was a Capcom release. And I've only played a bit of it, but it's okay, I guess. The mileage may vary as I go deeper into it, but anyways. Next up we have Alleyway for Game Boy, which is essentially a Breakout clone by Nintendo. And, if you've seen past videos, you know my feelings more or less on, Breakout style games with a D-pad. Not a fan, but this one actually kinda sorta works. Again, maybe somewhere down the line we'll do a proper video on that. Next we have World Heroes for the Super Nintendo. Actually not a bad port of the Neo Geo version arcade thing. Certainly better than the Genesis version, which I do have. And not a bad game. I actually have the World Heroes Anthology or whatever it's called on PlayStation 2, where they re-released the Neo Geo versions onto a PlayStation 2 disc, and it's nice to have this alternate conversion anyways, just to compare the different versions. I don't know, it's a weird interest that I have, in experimenting with all these different games. We also have World Heroes 2 because I figure why not? Because if this was awesome sauce or whatever, this has to be a hell of a lot better or something. I don't know. They were cheap, I figured why not? Now we have an interesting find for the Super Nintendo. We have a multi-cart, Super 101, and it has a bunch of games like Wild Guns and Turtles in Time and Dracula X and Knights of the Round and Knights of the Round. This is actually from the same game, but I don't think anybody really cares. And it's got Final Fight Guy. Actually, that's Final Fight 3 according to the screenshot. But Sunset Riders. Yeah, you got 100 Super Nintendo games. A nice little selection of Super Nintendo games. Some good games, and there are some okay games and some obscure games like Clay Fighter, which is an obscure game, very obscure. Nobody's heard of Clay Fighter. That's a lie. I'm sure somebody's heard of Clay Fighter, especially from back in the day. But it's a nice little collection of games. It also includes Super Mario World, which is interesting because there's no battery on this cart. I assume you have to install one yourself, but I never got around to that point. Still, it's a nice little thing, probably an AliExpress type of thing where they take a bunch of these. And speaking of AliExpress, I got mine from the flea market, by the way. Super Games 143 and 1. This one has Zelda 1 and 2. This one has Sweet Home, Guardian Legend, Crystalis, the 2 Star Tropics games, and the 3 Final Fantasy games that graced the NES/Famicom. And this has battery backup. Although my copy, I don't know if it was my copy or if they were all like this, but this didn't have a battery in it. I had to install it myself. And fortunately, it was very easy to do. I didn't need to do any soldering or any of that bullshit because that's beyond my capabilities. The only thing is, if you save a game, you could only save one game. So if you have a Zelda save on there, and then you decide you want to start a Final Fantasy game, and you start saving on that, your Zelda game goes bye-bye. I don't know if it's a glitch or whatever the case may be, but that's just my experience. Other than that, it's a nice little collection of games and that sort of thing. Although buyer beware, some games do have little glitches in them, so it's not quite the best experience. Just tapping something on the computer, no biggie. And finally, just to close out this video fast, a couple PlayStation games. We have Reloaded, the hardcore sequel. It's a sequel to Loaded, a game that I haven't played. So that's going to be interesting. You start with the second game instead of the first game. Much like a number of franchises that I used to play on the NES. So that's not exactly unfamiliar territory. And finally, we have Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, which has a bunch of VR missions. That's probably the only other Metal Gear Solid thing that I'm going to get. Because I don't see myself getting all the other ones, because... yeah, so that's my haul for the month of January. Hopefully things will return to normal maybe this week. Anyways, later.